Deez Nutz. By Tony Angelo. Adelino was a young boy who lived in a small town called Zuza in Mozambique, southern part of Africa. He was the first son of Mr. Owayabi, a very great farmer. Unfortunately, his father got terribly ill and died. Adelino was just 16 years of old when this happened, but was left with no option other than to pick up from where his father stopped and tend for his younger siblings and his mother. Since then, he has always worked hard in his father's farm and gather the proceeds from the sale of the harvested agricultural produce which he and his mother used in taking care of themselves and other members of the family. Their farm had different types of crops and lots of nuts trees such as the pecan nut, almond, pistachios, walnuts, and others. It was easy and possible for Adelino and his family to be able to cultivate these nuts because the climate in South Africa where Mozambique is located was always favorable for the growth and cultivation of the nut trees. On a very faithful day, Adelino went to the farm. It was a sunny and stressful day, after working for so many hours, and he eventually rounded up the work for the day and took a stroll around the farm where he sat on the stone bridge. While he was still sitting admiring nature and trying to regain his lost strength before going back home, he noticed a beautiful squirrel peeping at him. He admired the squirrel and beckoned. "Ayan, come and get this," he said as he dipped his right hand into his pocket and brought out a nut. The squirrel saw the nut and came closer to Adelino. He then throws the nut to the squirrel. On catching the nut, the squirrel caught it with both hands and received the gift happily and ran off. Adelino was excited with this happening and later got up and headed home. The walk home wasn't too long, and it was only 15-minute walk. When he finally got home, he saw his mother, Adana, his younger sister who was just 10 years old, and his little baby brother who was only 5 years of age, all having fun together. They were sitting outside the house playing their favorite traditional game called Ortiz. It is a game that is played on the ground which involved digging holes on the ground and dropping and picking stones, pebbles into and from the holes respectively. It was done in a particular manner by participants until there were no longer any pebbles inside the hole. It was always an interesting sight to behold, as it always strengthened the bond of the family even when their father was still alive. His younger siblings, on seeing Adelino, all ran to give him a hug. They had missed him and were excited to see him. They exchanged pleasantries. "How are you both doing today?" Adelino asked his siblings. "Fine, we missed you," his siblings chorused simultaneously. "I am back now," Adelino assured them. He then placed down his little farm bag and brought out some fruits and nut which he had gathered and collected for them both in the farm and at the roadside while coming home. They were excited to receive such gifts from him. They both took their gift and rushed to get some water so they could watch them before eating, while Adelino went to greet his mother. "Good afternoon, mother," Adelino greeted his mother cheerfully. "How are you, my hard-working son?" His mother commended him with a smile on her face. "I am fine, mother, thank you," he replied. "Why did you stay long in the farm today beyond the usual time?" his mother inquired. "Nothing, mum, I just took my time to relax and regain my strength," Adelino responded. "That is wise of you, you act just like your father," his mother appraised him. Adelino wondered if he should tell her about the squirrel because it excited him, but had a second thought. Maybe it will not interest her at all, he said to himself. His mother ordered him to sit outside with them while she went to the kitchen to fetch him his meal. She wanted to reward him and encourage him for his hard work. She brought him a plate of pounded cassava and a bowl of bitter leaf soup and 3 big pieces of meat, and she was always proud of his hard work. Since her husband died, Adelino had never let the family down. 2 days later, Adelino went to the farm again, and after 6 to 7 hours of working, he decided to relax at the stone bridge before going home. Not up to 10 minutes when he sat down, Ayan the squirrel came around jumping happily and expectant of a little reward, just like the last time she met Adelino at the stone bridge. Adelino once again took a nut from his pocket and threw it to Ayan. She was super excited when she received yet another surprising gift of nut and ran away satisfied, leaving Adelino to wonder in curiosity. This event happened for a week, then months, then for a year, and finally for decades. Adelino the small boy had now turned into a grown man, having his own family, but this tradition remained, and became cherished by the squirrel species. Apart from Ayan, other members of family, his friend, and other squirrel finally began to partake in this exciting tradition as it continued. After so many years of thriving and flourishing agricultural abundance, the unfortunate happened. An unexpected famine occurred in the town of Zuza and everyone were taken unaware. There was lot of suffering and hunger. An acid rain fell, destroying the farmers' crops and the soil. Everyone was confused, they had nowhere to turn to for help, especially Adelino. He was badly affected with this event and was confused because he had borrowed a huge loan from the bank to sponsor his farming activities for that year. He used the loan to buy an extra land, expanding his farmland, and also bought seedlings and fertilizers including other useful agricultural inputs. Unfortunately, few years later after this unfortunate event, the bank who loaned him money came to collect back their money and its interest, but things were not stable for Adelino yet. The bank then gave him just 1 week to pay back or they will sell off his house and throw him in jail. Adelino was worried. He went to the stone bridge and sat down and he started thinking and weeping. He didn't know what to do. Ayan came up to him, having noticed that for some time now he had not been visiting the stone bridge and offering her a nut as usual. She could tell he was disturbed, so she went away and organized a meeting with the other squirrel. The next morning, Adelino woke up and opened the door only to find heaps of thousands of nuts outside his house. He was extremely happy. He called his family out, looking at them wept for joy and explained to them how he had been helpful to Ayan and the other squirrels. Adelino sold some of the nuts and settled the debt he took from the bank including the interest. He took this family to the stone bridge and while they were there, a nut was thrown at their foot, and as they looked up to inquire where it came from, they were shocked to see over 100 squirrel. They all laughed and were excited. Then James and Jack, Adelino twin sons, took up the nut and threw it to the squirrels. The squirrel caught it and all ran away feeling excited.